This is Morgan Beatty speaking for Alka-Seltzer, bringing you News of the World Night Special. Tonight, Washington exclusive preview of the Marshall Plan by detail. London, by-election with a meaning all its own. Vancouver, drama and tragedy on the shores of the Pacific Northwest. Hollywood, preview of Santa Claus. More scandal in high places. Those are the headlines. I'll be back in a moment with News of the World.
How about it, friends? Everything all set for the big Thanksgiving feast tomorrow? Well, let's have a look at that market basket.
In 1947, Humphrey Bogart signed a new Warner Brothers contract. It gave him limited script refusal and the right to form his own production company. He and Bacall soon made the thriller Dark Passage, based on the 1946 novel of the same name by David Goodis. Critics gave the film and Bogart's performance mixed reviews, but generally praised Bacall and the cinematography. By November of 1947, nearly 11 million babies had been born in the U.S. since the end of World War II. Movie attendance bombed, dropping nearly 500 million sold tickets in 1 year. Young parents were staying home with their children. The 47-48 season had the largest radio audience in history. Homes with radios jumped 6%. Car radios, 29%. The major networks, NBC, CBS, ABC, and the Mutual Broadcasting System, added nearly 150 new affiliates. All but 3% of the nation's AM stations were now linked to one of the major networks. Their revenue topped $200 million.
And here are signs of our times. New York, James C. Petrillo has lifted a musicians' union ruling.
On the eve of Thanksgiving, as NBC broadcast News of the World with Morgan Beatty, the United States was a country in transition. World War II had created fundamental changes in society. While men of all races and creeds were overseas spilling the same colored blood, women had taken charge of the workforce. When veterans collected enough points for an honorable discharge, they returned home with different ideals and what we now call PTSD. As new cars, roads, and homes brought young families to the suburbs, racial discrimination came to the forefront in the face of the GI Bill, where a much higher percentage of white Americans were having their applications accepted.
A special edition of News of the World presents tonight a complete preview of the long-range Marshall Plan, nearly a week before it goes to Congress. The overall plan, as advertised, is $16 to $20 billion spread over 4 years. Now, the breakdown.
Americans were organizing. In the year after VJ Day, more than 5 million struck for better wages and benefits. This debilitated key sectors of the economy and stifled production. Consumer goods were slow to appear on shelves and in showrooms, frustrating Americans who desperately wanted to purchase items they'd forsaken during the war. It caused the largest inflation rise in the country's modern history, and the Taft-Hartley Act, limiting the power of labor unions. President Truman was seemingly at odds with Congress over every domestic policy, and his approval rating sank to 32%.
Truman or Marshall aid will be proposed next week by the President to the tune of $7.5 billion. About half of this will be in the form of outright grants to the 16 nations of Western Europe. There will be $300 million for China, a stopgap fund.
The U.S. war debt topped $240 billion. Because the nation emerged as one of the world's leaders, America was expected to have the largest hand in rebuilding Europe. On the eve of Thanksgiving, news outlets reported that in order to stabilize Europe, Americans should be ready to resume sacrifices they made during the war.
There will be a principle, however.
Not agreeing to do so could result in political enemies taking over the continent. The changing world stoked people's fears. Anti-communism was abound. On Monday, November 24th, the House Committee on Un-American Activities declared a list of 10 unfriendly witnesses who refused to answer questions about alleged communist influence in Hollywood.
The House Un-American Activities Committee has jarred Hollywood to its very foundations. If the actions of the bigwigs among the movie makers is any gauge, here's W.W. Chaplin in New York.
10 movie writers and directors were laid off without pay today after being declared in contempt of Congress for refusing to tell the Un-American Activities Committee whether they are communists or no. 100 ranking executives of all the major studios announced that the 10 who won't talk are discharged or suspended until they are acquitted or purge themselves of contempt by swearing that they are not communists.
Bogart, who'd been questioned and cleared the first time the committee came to Hollywood, organized the Committee for the First Amendment. He felt HUAC was abusing its power, harassing writers and actors, and went to Washington to state his case.
not to employ any communists knowingly in the future. Any they find already on the lots, they'll fire offhand.
Bogart was later forced to recant to counter negative publicity. He wrote an article for Photoplay magazine in March of 1948 entitled, "I'm No Communist." In it, he said, the 10 men cited for contempt by HUAC weren't defended by us. Part of the reason for the article was head of Warner Brothers Jack Warner, who was the first person to volunteer testimony before HUAC in September of 1947. Bogart's next Warner Brothers film, The Treasure of Sierra Madre, was to be written and directed by John Huston.
Their bosses had been stampeded, that they will fight on for their constitutional rights.
Of course, I have memories of Bogey that are evoked when any one of the 6 pictures I made with him are mentioned. There was also Key Largo and Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Huston and Bogart were liberal Democrats, but they knew better than to commit career suicide. The film was critically praised, but ticket sales were lukewarm. It received 4 Oscar nominations, winning 3. Best Supporting Actor for Walter Huston, and Best Director and Best Screenplay for John Huston. It's been long held that Bogart should have been nominated as Best Actor, but his involvement against HUAC led to the snub. The Lux Radio Theater adapted The Treasure of Sierra Madre on April 18, 1949.
Lux presents Hollywood. Lever Brothers Company, the makers of Lux Flakes, bring you the Lux Radio Theater, starring Humphrey Bogart and Walter Huston in The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Ladies and gentlemen, your producer, Mr. William Keeley.
Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's play is an exciting, dramatic story of a man's greed for gold. It was one of the really fine motion pictures of recent years, the Warner Brothers hit, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. And tonight we present the original stars of the film, Humphrey Bogart and Walter Huston, the latter in the role that won him an Academy Award. If housewives had the equivalent of an Academy Award to bestow, I believe most of them would give that award to Lux Flakes. They're accustomed to its fine performance, and Lux Flakes keeps up the record year after year. Our stars are on stage, and here's the curtain for The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, starring Humphrey Bogart as Dobbs and Walter Huston as Howard.
First time I come up with them was in Tampico. That's a seaport town. Tampico, northeast Mexico. I was having a beer near the docks when they came in. Hot Sunday afternoon.
You a fellow American?
Yeah, that's right, mister. What do you want?
I want to know about a guy named McCormick. You ever hear of him?
Cormick? Cormick. Oh, yeah, in the oil business. That's right, oil.
Have you seen him lately? Where can we find him?
If I was you gentlemen, I'd run clear McCormick. Hires a crew to work in the oil field, see, then he never pays him off. Slick. Slick like oil.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't mean to tell me he's hooked 2 smart fellow Americans like you.
That's right, Pop. 6 weeks in the oil fields, 120 in the shade. Only I ain't through with Mr. McCormick. Fred C. Dobbs is going to get his wages, see?
Come on, Dobbs, let's have a beer.
I could hear him talking at the bar, drifters, both of them. Not what you'd call good friends either, just a couple of guys that happen to wind up in Tampico. Yeah, just like me. Only difference is they're young. Yeah, I see him again that night. They came wanted in the flop house, 50-cent towers for a bed. Me? I'm sitting up talking to a couple of sailors. The subject of the conversation is gold.
Hey, Pop, you mean there's gold here in Mexico?
Not 10 days from this very spot. Whole mountain of gold's waiting for the right guy to come along, discover a treasure, and then tickle her till she lets him have it. Question is, are you the right guy? Tell me something. Why is gold worth some $20 an ounce?
I don't know, Pop. Because it's scarce, I guess.
1,000 men say go searching for gold. After 6 months, one of them's lucky. 1 out of 1,000. Now, his find represents not only his own labor, but that of 999 others to boot. That's 6,000 months or 500 years scrabbling over mountains, going hungry and thirsty. An ounce of gold, mister, is worth what it is because of the human labor that went in to find the getting of it.
Yeah. Never thought of it just like that.
Well, there's no other explanation, mister. You start out, you tell yourself you'll be satisfied with 25,000 handsome smackers worth of it. So help my Lord and cross my heart. Fine resolution. After months of sweating yourself dizzy and growing short on provisions and finding nothing, you finally come down to 15,000 and 10. Finally, you say, Lord, let me just find $5,000 worth and never ask for anything more the rest of my life.
Yeah, $5,000 is still a lot of dough.
Yeah, here in this joint seems like a lot, but I tell you, if it was to make a real strike, you couldn't be dragged away. Not even the threat of miserable death could keep you from trying to add 10,000 more. You get 10, you want 25. 25, you want to get 50. 50, 100. Like roulette. One more turn, always one more.
It wouldn't be that way with me.
Oh, hello, mister. You didn't find McCormick, huh?
I'll find him. But about gold, I swear it wouldn't be that way with me. I'd take only what I set out to get, even if there was still $500,000 lying around, just waiting to be picked up.
I've dug for gold all over the world. I know what gold does to a man.
You talk as if you once struck it rich. How about it, Pop?
Yeah, what are you doing in here? A down and outer.
That's the gold, mister. That's what it makes of us. Never knew prospector yet that died rich. Sure, I'm an odd old bone now, but say, don't you guys think the spirit's gone? I'm all set to shoulder a pick and shovel any time anybody's willing to share expenses.
I'll bet you are.
Rather go by myself. Going it alone's the best way. You've got to have a stomach for loneliness. On the other hand, going with a partner or two is dangerous. Murder's always lurking about. Partners accusing each other of all sorts of meanness.
So why should finding gold make a man any different? If he's the right kind of a man to start with, gold ain't going to change him.
You ever tried running her down, mister? Ever tried prospecting?
No, I ain't.
You didn't have the answer to that. Yeah, I knew that answer.
Yeah, you know it all, Pop. Well, I think I'll go to sleep and dream about piles of gold growing bigger and bigger and bigger.
A week later, I see him again, Dobbs and Curtin, all lumps and bloodied up. Looking for me they were, something to tell me. They take me to a cantina and put a bottle of beer under my nose.
We found McCormick, Pop.
Yeah, from the looks of you, found a peck of trouble, too.
Well, we got our wages. Every last penny.
Yeah, we've been thinking. Why not try digging gold for a change? Well, it ain't any riskier than waiting around here for a break. And this is the country where the nuggets of gold are just crying for you to take them out of the ground and make them shine on coins. Now the fingers and necks of swell dames. Well, that's what you said the other night, wasn't it?
Yeah, what's so funny? Living out in the open is cheaper than living in town. Our money'd last longer.
Yeah, sure it would, sure. Only you have to have equipment. Ever think of that? How much that all cost?
Well, we figured we'd ask you. We ain't denying anything when you come right down to it. We don't know much about prospecting. Of course, if you wasn't so old...
maybe I'd go with you, huh? Is that what's on your mind? You want to take me along?
Would you go?
Would I? Say, what a question. Of course I'll go. Any time, any day, out for gold. Always at your service. Well, I got 200 American bucks ready cash. Last money I got in the world. How much dough you guys got to put in?
$150. Curtin here has the same.
Total 500. Ain't hardly enough to buy the tools, weapons, and essential provisions.
What do we need guns for?
Well, for one thing, meat. For another thing, bandits. Bandit country's where we'd be gone. We ought to have $600 between us.
Well, that much, huh?
Can't dig up anymore, huh?
Not a red cent.
Senor Dobbs, I look all over for you. Give me my money, senor. Give me my money.
Get away from me, will you?
Senor, you don't comprehend.
You'll comprehend a glass full of beer right in your kisser if you don't leave me alone. I tell you, I don't want any lottery tickets. Now beat it.
Lottery tickets? Well, that's for gambling men.
But always whoever wins the lucky number gives the seller a present of 10%.
Hey, wait a minute. What are you talking about?
Dobbs. He's trying to tell you he sold you the winning ticket.
Here, look, the list of all the winning numbers. You buy ticket for 5 centavos, remember? 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I remember. What about it?
You win, senor. A 200 peso prize.
Oh, give me that paper. Oh, just look at that fat, rich printed number.
You got the ticket?
Sure, I got the ticket. Oh, 200 pesos. Welcome, sweet little smackaroos. Here, son, here's a present for you with my blessing.
Go to the lottery office, senor. Get the money.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations yourself. You stand a profit out of this the same as I do.
How do you figure that?
But did he just say we needed $600? Well, that's what we got now, ain't it?
Yes, sir. Just like that. Stroke of fate. Fortunate circumstance.
But how come you're putting up for me?
Because this is an all-or-nothing proposition. We make a find, we'll be lighting cigars with $100 bills. If we don't, the difference between what you put up and what I put up ain't enough to keep me from being right back where I was this afternoon, polishing the park bench with the seat of my pants. Put her there, Pa, and
Thanks, Dobbs.
Well, gentlemen, now here's what we do. We'll take a train to Perla. That's a little town at the foot of the Sierra Madre Mountains. When we're there, we'll buy our burrs and get away from the railroad. No use looking for gold anywhere near a railroad. You gotta have, we gotta go where there's no trails at all. Just bandits.
Now, that sounds okay to me. Okay, partner?
Sure.
Yeah. We gotta go where no surveyor, anybody who knows anything about prospecting has ever been there before. Well, drink up, gentlemen. Drink up. We'll buy a map and some railroad tickets. Got about half our gear there in Tampico and then took the train for Perla. About 50 miles from Perla out in the desert, there's a big boulder on the tracks. Bandits trying to raid the train.
Hey, they're retreating. Look, they're retreating. Look, they're riding off.
Hey, save your bullets, Mr. Dobbs. You're too far off now.
I got 3 of them. Credit me with 3. How many did you get?
Couple, I guess.
Bandits. Guess they were expected. That's how come so many federal soldiers riding on this train.
That bandit that rode right up to the train. The one with the gold hat.
Yeah, I had my sights on him nice as you please. But the train gave a jolt and I missed him. I sure wish I could have got him.
Well, you boys cooled off enough to look at this map?
Huh? Oh, sure.
Yeah, it ain't much of a map. Don't properly show whether it's mountain or desert. That shows the makers of the map themselves don't know for sure. That's good. What are you doing, Dobbs?
Why, reloading. Can't tell if them bandits may come back.
Yeah, that's right. Well, wake me up when the shooting starts.
I remember both of you are natives of New York. Do you miss this big town very much?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Well, that's a nice, normal family disagreement, but tell me, don't either of you get a yen to do a Broadway play?
Yes, I do.
No. I'll tell you what, I think that you're going to run into kind of a traffic jam if you ask 2 actors one question. I think you better take us one by one.
All right, I'll break it up. Put the first one to you. Have you sort of lost your appetite for playing before live audiences, Bogey?
Well, I have, Ed, because I did an awful lot of it when I was a kid. I started in 21, and I was in 7 smash hits in a row. I thought the world was my oyster, and I came to Hollywood, and it was a terrible flop here, and then I went back to New York and was in 4 big flops there, and I swore if I ever got to Hollywood again, I'd stay here. I like it here, and so I think I have lost my appetite for the Broadway theater. I think possibly maybe a little ambition, because I believe that ambition belongs to youth.
Later in 1948, Bogart and Bacall made Key Largo with Edward G. Robinson, and Bogart formed Santana Productions. One of its early missions was to develop a radio series for the couple.